Rob?
Prepare to vote. Opposed? Present arms. Order arms. Belt face. Forward march.
Now, if you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So again, I'd like to welcome everyone, welcome Governor and our distinguished guests here this morning to the Bristol Fire Station. Obviously, this is a day of remembering those who went before us on 9/11 as well. My name is Brett LaRose. I am the fire chief here. I have been a member of this organization for almost 24 years, but that number is very small in comparison to those who came before me and some of those who are still here with us today. This new fire station, we moved in here 2 years ago, and it's been a place of pride for the community. It gets a tremendous amount of use by our community in this shared space right here. We left our old fire station over on North Street, and we were able to bring some of that history with us. You'll find downstairs, if you have time, we have our 1893 hand-drawn postcard, our 1936 Ford American LaFrance pumper. And up above your heads is our memorial bell. Those are just 3 of the historical artifacts we brought with us from the old fire station. I believe, in my opinion, I think we have one of the fire departments that are very reputable in this area. We put a lot of emphasis on training. You'll find all the members of the Bristol Fire Department are trained to the level 1. And here in the state of Vermont, that is only required of your career firefighters per state statute. We are very proud of that, and many of our firefighters have gone above and beyond. We are extremely fortunate to have such a supportive community. What you are standing in today is the culmination of over 12 years of work to get to this point. Many different committees, working groups, some unsuccessful votes to stay over on North Street. But in the end, the people who worked so hard to get here found the right site. And this facility not only meets our needs today, but will meet our needs for many generations to come. So again, welcome Governor Scott and guests. And I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you.
Let me pull it out a little further for you.
Yeah. Well, again, I want to thank everyone for coming today. And again, thank you, Chief LaRose, for your hospitality this morning. But most importantly, thank you for all you and your team do for this community, as well as the county and much, much beyond. I've witnessed your leadership at many Addison County firefighter events, the annual meeting. It's really a sense of pride. Anyone who has attended, and I know that the legislators have been there as well. it's really remarkable what they do, and the sense of professionalism for this volunteer group, especially in Addison County. And I travel a lot throughout the state, but this has to be the largest in some respects. And when you see all of them dressed up in their whites that night, I don't know what the number is, Brett.
It's over 200.
Over 200, all dressed up, coming together and talking about the issues and honoring those and working together as a team. So I do appreciate it and recognize how much leadership it takes to do that. So you've been a big part of that. It really is appropriate that we start our day here today to recognize the anniversary of September 11th, 2001. It's hard for me to believe, and I'm sure some of you as well, that it's been 17 years since our nation was attacked that day. The events of that day are still fresh in my mind, so I'm sure there are many here who are old enough, I know they are, who understand and remember what happened on that Tuesday morning. I hope each of us will take a moment to reflect on those our nation lost 17 years ago today. Average Americans just going to work, and the first responders who rushed into burning buildings to try and save them. Again, just doing their jobs. I also want to recognize and honor those servicemen and women who answered our nation's call to serve in the global war on terror. A generation of Americans who volunteered to defend America, who fully understood when they did so that might include time in the war zone. As we remember the events of that day, and we all know too well, let's remember the days after as well. Today's political environment can be so divisive, so hateful and toxic. And I can't think of a better way to honor those we've lost than to go about our day and every day in a manner worthy of that sacrifice. And treating each other with respect and civility is a good way to start. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention today's deployment of the Swiftwater Rescue Team to North Carolina to stage in anticipation of Hurricane Florence and the devastation that will probably follow. I know we all wish them a safe and productive mission and are proud of their service. Now, to why we're here in Addison County today. This is our 6th capital for a day, and our goal is to hit every county by the end of the year. It's great to see so many legislators here, Representative Baser, Representative Smith, Warren, and I see Warren here as well. Thank you very much for coming. It's been great meeting with so many people throughout the state who don't have an opportunity to travel to Montpelier. By bringing state government to different regions, we're able to learn directly from the people about their challenges as well as the opportunities they see. It's so critical that we focus on helping all corners of the state. And that means getting out there and listening to and learning from those who don't see it every day. And we don't see them every day. So it's been a huge success from my standpoint. In each stop, we connect with someone who had a problem that we're now working to resolve, or an idea that is worth exploring. Here's just one example. In Lindenville, we went to Caledonia a few weeks ago. We visited, some members here visited a co-working space that was struggling to find internet service. We connected them with a provider, which provided a short-term solution and is now working towards a long-term solution. And there are many, many other examples of areas where we've been able to, we just didn't know what the issue was, but we were able to resolve it fairly quickly as a result. Now, unfortunately, some have suggested that these tours are not a good use of state resources. But I strongly disagree. And I think we should be out there each and every day. We should be out there and see for ourselves, and we should invite them, those who are critical of what we're doing, to come with us. Because state government really exists for the people. Not for us, but for the people. And I can't, for the life of me, understand why anyone would suggest that we should be out there meeting with the people we serve. And I call that good government. So, we'll be out there today doing just what we've done in the last 5 tours. Some of the things I'll be doing include seeing the construction of the tunnel in Middlebury, making some announcements around our electric vehicle and energy efficiency work, having lunch with farmers at Sunrise Orchard in Cornwall, addressing students in Virgins, and having a roundtable discussion for the Addison County Chamber and Addison County Economic Development Corporation members. So maybe what we should do at this point is start to go around the room and talk about where we're going to be as we split up throughout the county. I'll start with Secretary Quinn.
I'm John Flynn, Secretary of Digital Services, and today I'm going to start my day following Secretary Flynn and the Governor to the bridge and rail construction project. After that, I'm going to take a tour of the communication facility at Middlebury Regional Emergency Management Center. And excuse me. After that, I'll be going to the luncheon with the governor, and then I will be going to the address at Virgins High School, followed by a meeting with the technology teacher at Virgins.
Great, thank you. Allison.
Good morning, I'm next. Allison Eastman, Deputy Secretary of the Agency of Agriculture. I will be starting off my day with Farm to School at Brigham Memorial School in Cornwall, bringing some staff with me that's not yet here. We will continue on to Sunrise Orchards, where we will have lunch and also be talking with our farmers. From there, the meet and greet, we will go to Champlain Orchards, which is diversified ag. We have our Food Safety Modernization Act, which was passed 2 years ago, my last year that I served in the legislature, and it was an educate before you regulate. So we're bringing some of our FSMA staff with us to the orchard that does a lot of diversified ag, hard cider, donuts, pies, sliced apples, and for those of you who don't know, it is apple harvest season, so that'll be exciting too. I'm sure there won't be many workers working in the rain, but it'll still give us an idea of what's going on. Then I'm going to head up to join the governor in Virgins, and my FSMA staff will continue on to Singing Cedars Farmstead in Orwell. So that's our day.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good morning, I'm Dan French, Secretary of Education. I'll be joined today by Deputy Secretary Boucher. We'll be traveling to a variety of education sites in the county, beginning this morning with a tour of Bristol Elementary School, then to the Cornwall School with a focus on their Farm to School lunch program. Look forward to seeing that. We'll be at the Sunrise Orchards as well, and Hannaford Career Center, and working our way up to Virgins at the high school later in the afternoon.
Thank you. Brad.
Good morning, Governor. Brad Vermont, Deputy Secretary of Administration, and we have a variety of departments that deal with our buildings, the administrative arm of state government that helps support all the other departments, and we do a lot of internal services for the state government, and we also have a couple outreach departments, tax department, Commissioner Sampson is here, and buildings and health service with the buildings, and Commissioner DHR is here as well too. So we'll be spread out throughout the day. I'm starting off the morning with a tour with the Commissioner of Employment and Training of Otter Creek Brewery. Then the bus facility following the governor, lunchtime. And then we'll be visiting a couple of our libraries, which also falls under the agency administration, at the IC Public Library in Middlebury. We'll be having a conversation with lodging operators on legislative changes. And also a roundtable discussion on changes in tax law, and then after that we'll be at the Bixby Library at the Otter Creek Room in Virgins, and then we'll close up in the degree in Addison.
Thank you. Julie?
Good morning, Julie Moore, Secretary of Natural Resources. I'm going to start today with Deputy Forest and Parks Commissioner Sam Lincoln and Commissioner Tierney, a tour of the combined heat and power facility at Middlebury College. Then look forward to participating in the electric vehicle announcements later this morning, lunch at Sunrise Orchards, and this afternoon, I believe Commissioner Goldstein and I will be touring Good Point Recycling. And then attending the editorial board meeting with the Addison Independent, and look forward to showcasing the new Dead Creek Visitor Center that was recently opened by our Fish and Wildlife Department this afternoon for the Captain's Meeting.
Good morning, everybody. Tom Anderson, Commissioner of Public Safety. I do want to thank Chief LaRose and the Bristol Fire Department for having us here today. It seemed right and appropriate that on the anniversary of 9/11, we have this meeting at the fire department. So thank you for hosting us. Just so everybody knows, on the way down here this morning, I wish the Swiftwater team well. They were deploying out of Colchester. So on 9/11, we're sending 17 men and women into harm's way down in North Carolina. They indicated to me that they're going to be staged out of Raleigh, and it looks like they're going to be staged about 30 miles from the coast, where the eye of the storm is predicted to go right over. So I would ask everyone to keep them in their thoughts and their prayers over the next few weeks. So I will be heading to Middlebury for a meeting with the state county law enforcement after the meeting today and the state's attorney. Those generally are pretty lively meetings. And then this afternoon I'll be meeting with emergency management and firefighters and EMS folks, I think back here this afternoon, and then to the debrief.
Thank you. Mike?
Good morning, Governor. Mike Sherlin, Secretary of Commerce and Community Development, and our whole team is here again. Deputy Secretary Brady's already got an event underway in Virginia discussing opportunity zones. Commissioner Goldstein, Commissioner Knight, Deputy Commissioner Hanford are here, and we'll be spreading out around the county over the next few hours. Among the things that I'm going to attend, the bridge and rail construction project, electric vehicle charging discussion. We have a number of meetings interspersed with businesses around the county, as well as some of our tourism assets. And this afternoon, I have a couple of meetings with businesses together with Commissioner Goldstein, and business park discussion here at 3 o'clock back behind the fire station, among other things.
Great. Joe?
Thank you, Governor. I'm Joe Flynn, Secretary of Transportation. Addison County has several transportation-related projects occurring. Currently, we have 4 projects in the county that are in the planning stage. VTrans has 10 projects currently in the development stage, and local communities have another 4 in the development stage. And we have 4 active construction projects underway as we speak. When I leave here, as the Governor said, will be joining the Governor for the tour of the Middlebury Tunnel and Rail Project, after which we will be meeting with the Neighbors Together group briefly in town. And then after that, I'll be joining the Governor and others at the EV charging station grant announcement. We'll be attending the other announcement at the Middlebury bus facility. And then I will be going to Middlebury Airport for a meeting with our staff. VTrans runs the airport there in town. I will be, following that, going to New Haven, where we will be building a new facility for the district garage in New Haven, and I will be visiting that site. After which I'll be going to the Virginia's rail station. You may recall we moved that facility a few years back across Kmart Crossing, and now we're in the final throes of fitting up the interior. So I'll be meeting with several people there. And of course, we will conclude at Dead Creek. This morning, before this meeting started, I had the pleasure to meet with Valerie Capels from the town and Peter Coffey, my old friend, who's the chairman of the select board, to address an issue out back. And to your point about solving some things, I'd like to say that I think perhaps the agency can move something along that seems to have been stuck a little bit. So just from that meeting this morning.
Great. Thank you. Adam?
Good morning, Governor. It's delightful to be here. Thank you for those days. So this morning, I'll be joining what looks to be a very large contingent touring the tunnel and bridge project downtown Middlebury, after which I'll join a number of people speaking with a local initiative to help deal with the impact of that project in downtown Middlebury. After that, I'll be joining governor and cabinet for lunch, meeting with a number of local farmers. And that afternoon, I'll be joining a tax and legislative overview and talk with Commissioner Sampson, who's sitting quietly over there in the corner. And I'll end up in Addison in the chamber.
Clarence.
Good morning, Governor. Good morning, everyone. Clarence Davis, Deputy Secretary of the Agency of Human Services. Unfortunately, I have a short morning this morning. I'll be meeting with the folks at Porter Hospital. They have a new nursing and rehabilitation facility they just built. So I will be there in the morning, and then returning to Waterbury for service meetings.
Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay Curley, Commissioner of Labor. Chief Willows, thank you for hosting us. I will start my day over at Otter Creek Brewing for a tour and a meeting. Otter Creek has done a phenomenal job to develop health and safety programs that protect its workers. In fact, Otter Creek is one of only 4 breweries in the country that has achieved SHARP status. SHARP is a nationally recognized program in safety and health. So we're really excited to do that. I'll be joined by Colleen Hale, who is our Assistant Director of Workforce Development, and Dustin DeGree, who is the Director of Workforce Expansion, as well as a few other people in the room. Really excited for that tour. After that, I will be traveling to Middlebury to Vermont Coffee Company. Paul Ralston, who was in the House on the House Commerce Committee formerly, was an advocate for carving and paving a way for independent contractors in the state of Vermont. Vermont Coffee Company also received recognition for being the nation's first 100% renewable biogas-powered coffee roastery. So we're excited to go there and visit them as well. Then I will be having lunch at the Orchard, looking forward to that, and followed by a visit to the Hannaford Career Center with Secretary French and a few others, where we'll be learning about a 3-way project, or a multi-way project, I should say, between Vermont Department of Labor, Adult Tech Ed, the Tech Center, and Resource. Then I will be finishing my day with the roundtable with ACECD, EDC, and the Chamber, joining Governor Scott, as well, again, as many in the room. So we're looking forward to a really busy day here.
Thank you. Mike.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Mike Pichek. I'm the Commissioner at the Department of Financial Regulation, and I'd like to thank Chief LaRose as well. I had other appointments, but I think I'm going to cancel them to go with Brad and Lindsay to Otter Creek. So I'm going to get Nick on that. But in all seriousness, I'm going first to the National Bank of Orwell down in Orwell to meet with Brian Young. The bank traces its roots back to 1832. And it was the 229th bank to receive a federal charter in 1863 when Abraham Lincoln signed the National Banking Act. And it is still doing very well. Community banks are shrinking and not doing economically very well, and this one has bucked that trend, and it'll be good to catch up with Brian and tour the bank and talk to him a little bit about the issues they're facing. Then I'm going to visit with the National Bank of Middlebury and have a similar conversation. We've been working with Caroline Carpenter, who's the president there, on an issue they've been dealing with relating to some of their customers. Staying in Middlebury to meet with the Middlebury Co-op Insurance Company, which does a lot of farm protection in terms of farmers across the state. And we passed legislation just a year ago to allow them to expand to some other states in New England as well. So they're doing well in terms of their business plan. And then meeting with an insurance agency in Virgins to discuss some issues of importance there. And then interestingly enough, I'll sort of take some of this perspective and have a conference call with some regulators in Washington, D.C. that I think will be able to help inform some national policy with some sort of experience on the ground as well. So I look forward to that.
Jim.
Good morning, sir. Jim Tierney, the Commissioner of the Department of Public Service and Regulate Utilities in the state, and a myriad of other things. I wanted to thank Chief LaRose for having us here this morning, and it's wonderful to see your square away operation here, Chief. Governor, it's very meaningful to me to take a moment to remember 9/11. Just last week, I was carrying out your commission in Texas, serving on the Texas Legislative Committee, doing fact-finding about low-level radioactive waste disposal, and it turned out that the senator who was chairing that committee was a survivor of 9/11. He had something like 30 surgeries to put his life back together, He happened to be a fellow Army officer, so we had a good bond. He sends you his regards, and it was truly an inspiration to see people soldiering on resiliently in the wake of that tragedy as well. It's a testimony to the strength of the nation. My day-to-day is going to be full of things that I hope carry out the priorities that you've set for your administration for the last 2 years. The first event for me will be joining my colleagues touring the combined heat facility in Middlebury, followed by joining you for the announcement of important work that we've been doing on EV charging stations and the use of VW settlement monies. I will then be joining you for lunch, and then I'll be traveling to the Regional Planning Commission in Addison. What I've been doing on these tours is checking in with these regional planning commissions to see how well we're doing in my department in honoring the will of the people as they do their enhanced energy planning under Act 174. It's one thing for me to get the papers in my office and have my staff going over the submission of the plans. It's another thing to touch base with folks then in real time to say, how did this go over in your community? How are you faring into this process? What can we be doing better? After that visit, I'll be going up to the Vermont Cider Company, where I'll be meeting with stakeholders in that business as well as in our natural gas sector to discuss the considerable natural gas savings, or better said, energy savings that the business has been able to realize as a result of its expanded use of natural gas through the pipeline that was built in Addison. And then I'll be joining you for the debrief.
Good. Maybe at this time, just start with you, Sam. If you could just identify yourself and what you do, and if there's anything you want to add, feel free, but just to get a sense of who's in the room.
Thank you, Governor. Glad to be here. Sam Lincoln, Deputy Commissioner of Forest Parks and Recreation, and joining others on the tours as previously mentioned.
Kai Sampson, Commissioner of Tax, as was previously mentioned, having a get-together with Wendy and some tourism and marketing folks and some lodging operators in the area, and also doing a tax and legislative update with interested taxpayers, businesses, and whoever else cares to attend.
Good morning, Wendy Knight, Commissioner of Tourism and Marketing. The only other thing I'm doing today, aside from some of the visits we've already mentioned, is I'm visiting the UVM Morgan Horse Farm. UVM has invested quite a bit in their facility. They're hoping it to be a tourism attraction. So,
Douglas Farnham, Policy Director and Economist for the Tax Department, just supporting Commissioner Sampson's efforts today.
Joan Goldstein, Commissioner of Economic Development, joining the Middlebury Neighbors Together discussion, going on to Vermont Coffee Company, visiting Connor Built Homes, Bees Wrap, Vermont Tree Goods, the Addison County Chamber, as well as the RDC, and then the wrap-up.
Matt Birmingham, the Director of State Police. I'll be with Commissioner Anderson meeting with law enforcement in Addison County.
Chris Cole, Commissioner of Buildings and General Services. Strangely enough, I'll be visiting state buildings today. I'll be visiting the Agency of Human Services regional office in Middlebury, which I haven't been to yet. And I'll also be visiting the courthouse this morning. And I will join this afternoon a review of recycling, and I'll also be looking at energy efficiency at Saturday.
Good morning. Josh Hamper, Deputy Commissioner, Department of Housing and Community Development. In addition to the visits that Secretary Sherwin mentioned, I'll be doing 2 housing visits right from here, visiting Lindale Mobile Home Park with our Mobile Home Park Coordinator for the state and a few housing partners to look at some of their needs. They have some septic issues on site that need to be addressed. And then looking at a new housing development, family housing, this afternoon in Virgins on Armory Lane with some other housing partners in the development team.
Peter Kaufman, Chair of the Bristol Select Board, retired Deputy Director of Vermont Emergency Management, and a 42-year member of this fire department, which I'm very proud of.
That's great. Harvey, you might want to identify yourself.
Yeah, Harvey Smith, State Representative. I represent Addison over here in New Haven, Weybridge, and Bridgeport.
Good morning. I'm Colleen Hale. I'm with Workforce Development with the Department of Labor. I'll be going with Commissioner Curley today, following up on some workforce development.
I'm Valerie Caples. I'm the Town Administrator for Bristol. I'm also a member of the Addison County Economic Development Corporation Board. I was hoping to be at the roundtable this afternoon, but I learned of a schedule conflict that I won't be able to make, so I'm sorry to miss that. But I will be at the 1:30 event here, and also the 3 o'clock event in Stony Hill.
Fred?
Yes, I'm Representative Baser. Bristol's my hometown, and I'm the rep for this area. Bristol Fire Department, for as long as I've known it, is top-notch, I think, in the county. So they're one of the few fire departments that don't have a demand situation for volunteers. There are people waiting to get on the Bristol Fire Department. And that's been that way, I think, for the 50 years or so that I've been in town. I love this district I'm in. I love Bristol, and I appreciate very much the governor and all you administrators taking time to come to visit, not only here, there are a few things going on with businesses in Bristol, but the county itself. It's the land of milk and honey, we call it, and it truly is a special place, so thank you very much.
Ted Fisher with AOE Communications. I'll be visiting schools with Secretary French and Deputy Secretary Boucher today.
Heather Boucher, Deputy Secretary of Education. As Ted just said, the three of us, along with Secretary French, will be joining a number of schools throughout Addison County, and then towards the end of the day, I will join Commissioner Curley at the Hanford Career Center. Happy to be here.
I'm Beth Fastige. I'm the Commissioner of Human Resources for Vermont, and we are one of the state's largest employers, the largest employer. And so later in the afternoon, I'll be headed to the Hanford Career Center as well as the education and Department of Labor folks, and we will actually maybe do some recruiting there for our own workforce, because just like other employers, we have challenges hiring skilled workforce. And then in the morning, I'll be joining Commissioner Cole for a tour of Middlebury facilities and hopefully meeting with some state employees there.
Assistant Chief. I'm Eric Warren. I'm the Assistant Chief with Bristol Fire. I've been a member here for 15 years, and I'm also an employee at Vermont Emergency Management as a State Exercise Administrator. And thanks for coming to the firehouse and using our facility.
I'm Dustin Degree. I work in the Governor's Office. I'm the Director of Workforce Expansion. I'll be joining Colleen and some of the folks from Education and Commissioner Curley on kind of the workforce tour in the next 15 minutes. I'm going to see if we can swap the coffee tour for the beer tour. So the beer tour might be a little more interactive, but we'll see. Happy to be here.
Rebecca?
Rebecca Kelly, I'm the Governor's Communications Director. I sufficiently shamed you all into using our hashtag on social media on the last event. Good job, we got trending. So let's do that again, hashtag VT Capital for a day, and that's capital with an O and the number 4. And I'll just be following the Governor around and helping to push those messages out.
Great.
I also work with the Governor's Office. I'll be supporting the Governor throughout the day. So.
Warren.
Thank you. Warren and White from Ferrisburg, Addison 3, which includes Virgins, Waltham, Canton, and Addison, so a number of places that you'll be visiting. I certainly hope to be at Virgins High School and at the Chamber of Commerce meetings and meet many of you along the way. And I ditto the Governor's remarks about the Addison County firefighters meetings. We've been to many together before and after he was Governor, and it's really impressive event and a dedicated group of people that we really rely on, and we can be thankful we have such a dedicated force.
With that, are there any issues that the Cabinet would like to bring up at this time that maybe you've encountered over the last week or so, or anything that is on the forefront that we should know about?
Well, Governor, to return to my trip to Texas, it was a very interesting day-long hearing that before I went to this hearing in Austin, I took the trouble to go to Andrews County, which is where the low-level radioactive waste disposal site is located in Texas, to just have a look around, see what the facility was about, what the community was about, and met with legislators there and community leaders. It's an important issue because, as you know, I also serve on the Nuclear Decommissioning Citizens Advisory Panel, and there are some members who have been concerned about Vermont's practice of exporting its low-level radioactive waste to Texas. And so I can give you my assurance that from everything I saw on the ground in Andrews County, this is an activity that enjoys enormous community support there. And the folks in Texas are grateful to have Vermont's participation in that compact. Not to get into the weeds, but Vermont and Texas have joined together in a partnership that's sponsored by the federal government to allow for low-level radioactive waste to be disposed in this manner. Texas would not be able to avail itself of the benefits of this program federally unless it had another state as a partner. So Vermont, small as it is really leveraging its size with Texas in order to have a responsible way to dispose of low-level radioactive waste. The hearing itself also went really well. Texas legislature is considering making some changes as to how disposal rates are set, and that has potential impacts for ratepayers here in Vermont. So my job in your name was to make sure that Vermont's interests were well represented, and I was very pleased to see that Texas is more than considerate of the impacts of its actions as a legislature on Vermont. It was a very encouraging thing to see. I could not have said that to you in the abstract before going to Texas last week.
Texas, remind me, doesn't Texas meet every other year, the legislature?
Sir, frankly, I don't know, but if so, I think we have more we can learn from Texas.
Dare to dream.
No disrespect, Representative White.
You can make it look shorter.
Not to put you on the spot, Commissioner Anderson, but I know that with the deployment of the Swiftwater team, there's been some concern about what this storm could mean to our region, and it's hard to predict.
Yeah, it is, and we looked at that very carefully before deciding to send them. But I mean, the forecast right now is that the thing's going to come on shore. It's going to linger over North Carolina and maybe head back out to sea. We've got a high pressure system coming in that's going to park over us. I mean, our weekend forecast looks tremendous, sunny and high in the 80s. So, but we also have enough people here to handle any emergency we might have, and we have the opportunity, the ability to bring them back on short notice if need be. So, all in all, I thought agreeing to the compact and agreeing to send that Swiftwater team down was appropriate.
Secretary Flynn, has there been any outreach in terms of that region for resources and transportation?
There haven't been yet, Governor, but we're pulsing that very closely, very similar to what we almost did last year in the state of Florida in the wake of one of their most recent hurricanes. And I would just add that Chief LaRose told me this morning when I came in that Vermont is also supporting the state of Hawaii this week. EMAC, the person who's now in the way of Hurricane Olivia. Yes. So, very
Addison.
Secretary Tebbets is attending the National Association State Department of Ag annual meeting, and that's the reason why he's not able to join us today. NASDA has accepted action items before this meeting, and realizing the state of dairy and the 4 years of low milk prices, the Secretary had put forward an action item to allow NASDA to lobby on a national basis towards a new milk pricing system, and work with the cooperatives as well as the producers and all stakeholders involved. The Secretary reported late yesterday that was passed and accepted by NASDA, all of the states unanimously, so that was pretty exciting news for us. There's a lot of conversations going on, and to know that all 50 states plus those in the Commonwealth, Puerto Rico, etc., are supporting the effort going forward.
Great. Secretary Flynn.
Tomorrow morning, I'll be meeting with the FCC chairman in Springfield as part of a roundtable that I was invited to talk about rural broadband and connectivity issues in the state. So I'll be lobbying for them to loosen restrictions on how we can spend money and who gets money in order to build that broadband.
Julie.
We had the interviews for the Vermont Phosphorus Innovation Challenge on Friday last week. Secretary Shirley and Secretary Tebbets and I all participated. We interviewed 12 different outfits of the 25 that had submitted proposals and have some really tough work in front of us narrowing that
Can you
field.
just briefly tell those in the room that may not be familiar with phosphorus challenges?
Yes.
Describe that.
Sure. So Vermont has a phosphorus imbalance in that we import more feed and fertilizer than we export in agricultural products, so milk, meat, and other agricultural products. And one of the ideas we've been working with is that it should be possible to actually capture some of that excess phosphorus, repackage it in a saleable material, whether it's a fertilizer or a compost type product, and hopefully generate economic activity and revenue for farmers, as well as improving the phosphorus balance in Vermont. And there's some really exciting work already on the way, or underway on the ground here in Vermont. We're hoping to be able to amplify and frankly accelerate that work, and look forward to what comes next in terms of making awards to help folks build business cases and prototype the processes they presented to us, and ultimately with the idea that the state may choose to invest in some of these operations.
So you narrowed it down to 12, is that what you said?
Right, we received, I think, 27 proposals. We selected 12 to come in and do presentations. We heard all of those presentations last Friday and have committed to folks that we will get back to them by the end of the month with our decisions.
As I heard, it was difficult to get narrowed down to the 12 because there were so many good ideas.
It was. And the vast majority of the proposals were from Vermont-based enterprises, so, which is also really exciting.
Including a collaborative from Addison County.
Okay. That's good news as well. Any other issues? Yes.
Just a couple quick things, Governor. Suzanne wanted me to remind everyone that there's the BT Shares kickoff meeting next Monday. That's a critical kickoff, so for you and your key people to attend that. And it's a significant program for the state. You know, since its inception, 40 plus years ago, the state has raised over $9.5 million through its state employees.
Yeah, can you just explain what BT Shares is?
Yeah, BT Shares is a state employees charitable contribution appeal process, basically, where through a payroll deduction process or a contribution that you get to contribute to a Vermont-based nonprofit entity to help support them. And this is our 41st year, and we've contributed in excess of $9.5 million through the state employees doing that. So it's a very key program for all these nonprofits, and one that we should be very proud of. So,
is there any competition between departments and agencies?
There are competitions and goals that are set. And last year, several of our departments met their goals and exceeded their goals. And actually, there's an award ceremony this year for the second half of that meeting on Monday to recognize those departments that exceeded their goals. So those of you who have been invited to that, congratulations. Those of you who have not, good luck this year. So anyway, quick reminder. And secondly, we were notified yesterday that our rating agencies have reached out to us, and we'll be looking at reassessing our ratings sooner than later. Typically, they wait until we go out to the market to issue our bonds. But we were notified from the Treasurer's Office yesterday that they want to do that as early as late September or early October. So they sent us a series of questions that they would like to have us all, it will take all of us to answer some of these questions. They talk a lot about our demographic challenges, a lot of the challenges you recognize, Governor, and some of your policies are trying to address. Our demographics, our aging population, our unfunded liabilities, our infrastructure maintenance, any deferred maintenance we have on our infrastructure across our transportation system, our buildings, and cybersecurity challenges, and what we're doing to address those issues, and then climate change risk that may be posing the state of Vermont. So kind of a variety of questions. So we'll be reaching out and kind of developing a team to address each question and formulate a response. And we don't have the date yet where they're going to meet this, but it's going to be again probably late September or early October. So we'll notify you as quickly as we can.
Great. Anything else?
Yes. Folks may or may not be aware there's been a new find of emerald ash borer in Bennington County, and I leave here today. Our department, working with the Agency of Ag, U.S. Forest Service, and USDA partners, are holding another public informational meeting for landowners, forest managers, municipalities, utilities in Bennington County tonight to make them aware of the resources. And we have the opportunity, we have a national expert on emerald ash borer that works for the U.S. Forest Service will be attending, and hopefully resolve some people's concerns, give them ideas of how they can help slow the spread and manage their land properly and things like that. So it's an ongoing effort on behalf of the department as it pops up around the state in more places.
It's a huge concern for us as a state. It's moving, it seems to be moving incredibly fast.
It is moving a little faster, and it's moving in New Hampshire too. It's moving north through New Hampshire much quicker than they had thought it was. So it's a reality that we had hoped we wouldn't have to face, but it's here.
Thank you.
Just to add, jumping on the VT shares, this would be the first year that as you guys are promoting that to your employees, that you have a 5% charitable tax credit. Vermont is one of just 2 or 3 states in the nation now that has a charitable contribution tax credit. And it was your proposal, Governor, worked with the legislature to get that passed. So in almost every other state, you have to be itemizing deductions. In Vermont, you know, most employees who are participating are going to qualify for at least 5% tax credit on the Vermont tax liability. And I don't think that's an insignificant factor in getting people to sign up and be charitable through that system. So good news on that front.
Anything else? Anybody else? Well, thank you again. Thank you to the Bristol Fire Department for hosting us. Have a great morning. We'll see you at lunch, and then we'll move on from there. I appreciate your efforts.